Good morning. And so it begins. The effect of Donald Trump's proposals, his implementation of his crazy ideas, including the massive tariffs on imports, as well as his plan to reinstitute or to extend the billionaire and corporate tax cuts and expand them, all of that impacted the stock market in a big way over the last 10 trading days, but explicitly yesterday, when the news was words like the stock indices plunged or the market is crashing. I personally like the word tanking because I like the alliteration, and I didn't see anyone use it like Trump tanks the market. And the reason why you're not seeing that is Trump has been a little more clever. The Republicans are much more craven. The people who are making money off the market as it stands are smarter about messaging, because I have yet to see anyone in Biden's camp or any big messaging around the fact that this crash yesterday is Trump's fault. What you're seeing instead, my friends, is the blame laid at the feet of the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, who at yesterday's open market committee meeting announced rate cuts. And the rate cut was only a quarter of a percentage point, what people on Wall Street call 25 basis points. Don't worry about saying basis points or bips. I'm just letting you know when you hear it. If you hear 100 basis points, that means 1%. If you hear 25 basis points, that's a quarter of a percent. It's not language meant to shut people out. It's actually a lot more efficient to say 25 basis points. Anyway, so that might seem like a good thing. Usually when rates are cut, that helps buoy the stock market, if that's what you care about. And we'll talk about that in a second. However, what Jerome Powell also said is that he does not anticipate further rate cuts into 2025, something that he had signaled previously he was planning. And did I mention Donald Trump wants to keep Powell as Fed chair? Okay, so where does this bring us? It's easy for people to blame Powell, but I want to assure you, and let me pull this up right now, that this is a Trump crash. This is not a Jerome Powell crash. What you see in the top right corner is a chart. And this is the slide from 2 p.m. yesterday to close of the markets yesterday at 4 of the S&P 500 index. The Dow looks similar, as does here, I'm just pulling this down. The Dow looks similar, as does the Russell index, which is the index of smaller stocks. In fact, almost everything looks the same except one index, and we will get to that. But let me tell you, this is Donald Trump's crash. And why do I say that? Because Jerome Powell provided the reasons why he decided to do this last cut of 25 basis points, why he did that, and why he signaled no more in the future. And that is because of the anticipation that the problem of inflation will not be solved, but may get worse. Does anyone remember Trump's policies, like the tariffs that we mentioned, or the giant tax cuts, would be inflationary? Think about it. I'll tell you why. One, and let me add the third. His policy about rounding people up, 10 million people who are undocumented, and tightening the borders further, will also increase prices and decrease income brought in through income tax, because undocumented people who work here actually pay billions of dollars in federal taxes. But of course, who picks the fruits and vegetables, and so on. But of course, the big cause of inflation will be the tariffs if he implements them. And he's already threatening the tariffs against Mexico and Canada and China across the board and on everything. But of course, there will be footnotes that Donald Trump will make exceptions. He'll make exceptions for companies that he likes. So whatever he is promising, that these aggressive tariffs that he will impose is, gonna be, if you kiss his ring or you gave him money, it won't be on you. So someone like Elon Musk is going to be a lucky duck, and not have tariffs imposed on the materials he imports for Tesla and so on. Okay, so bottom line is, and we can go through it by looking at the articles, but you have to trust me, I'm not going to do the deepest dive here. Donald Trump's planned policies are expected to be inflationary. The Fed has forecasted, and this is the Fed is the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, which is a quasi-independent agency. It's the equivalent of our central bank. Okay, I think you know that. The Fed, though, in its open market committee meeting, decided that, it looks like we're forecasting more inflation. And so therefore, we are not going to, loosen up anymore. We are not, I'm sorry, let me say it differently. We're not cutting interest rates, which would stimulate the economy and, more and create more inflation. We might need to go in the other direction, is the hint. In other words, the forecast is bad. His policies are stupid and they will hurt the economy. And so this is why it is Donald Trump's crash. Now, let me share with you what this is. And you can probably barely see this, but I need to walk you through it. This was across my screen when I was looking up financial information about how the market was doing as of close yesterday. And this screenshot comes from yesterday night after the markets had closed. But as I told you, Dow Jones, right? That's on the left. Everything red is down. So Dow Jones down 2.58%. That was a 1,123 point slide. S&P 500, the giant corporate stocks, down 2.95%. NASDAQ, the tech index, and other stocks, of course, down 3.56%. The Russell, small cap stocks, smaller market cap, meaning the number of shares outstanding times the price is smaller. These aren't the giants, but they're still in an index, and that was down 4.39%. But holy fuck, what the hell is this? The VIX, V-I-X. That is the volatility index. People maybe, I don't know. I mean, I know about this because, I don't know, I do, but this may be your first day learning about the VIX. And the VIX is an index that you can buy into. You can, buy similar, like you can buy an S&P 500 fund. You can buy a VIX fund, and it will represent what you're buying a share of is volatility. Look at this, you guys. The volatility index is up 74%. Yay, volatility, I guess. No, I'm kidding. Now, let me take this a step further. This is a key chart for you to take a look at. This is this chart, and to give you background, this is from MarketWatch. And the headline here is the stock market today. Again, this was from last night. Dow ends down over 1,100 points after Fed lowers interest rates, signals fewer cuts in 2025, right? This was updated yesterday at 4:44 p.m. after the market had closed. And I don't know why the chart says Wednesday's top reads, but here you go. This is just a screenshot right from MarketWatch. What you see here, if you can see these colors, a purple, the top line is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That's that basket of stocks. S&P 500 is next in a sort of blue, which looks almost exactly like the teal below, the NASDAQ Composite. The reason why they are all the same shape and all headed in the same direction is because this was the opening yesterday, Wednesday, the 18th. You see the open baseline is at 0 because that's where you started. Wherever those indices were, that's their starting point. Whatever number they were at, that's where they started. And it kind of was a little bit bumpy. And then boom, after the Fed meeting came the crash. So you can see why it would be that people would say it is Powell. But why did Powell do what he did? Okay, and what did this happen? U.S. stocks down, as I mentioned at the outset, 10th straight session, and what market insiders are trading. And this was a piece from a regional newspaper out of New Jersey. And there were various quotes from some experts. I just quoted this one guy who is the chief U.S. economist for Natixis out of New York. I don't know what Natixis is. There are a lot of opinions, but I thought this was pretty, it was kind of in Wall Street speak, and I can kind of decode it. He said, the more hawkish SEP shows that the Fed is serious about tackling inflation and the wide variance of how Trump could implement policy will only complicate things. Did you hear that? How Trump could implement policy will only complicate things. We still think this deflationary progress will continue, but it only makes sense for the Fed to slow down the pace of cuts to better assess how Trump's policies interact with underlying economic dynamics. What this is, let me translate that for you. That is, we have no fucking idea as analysts whether Donald Trump is really going to go as far as he says he is. So that's why, let me just put it this way. That's why they think disinflationary progress. They think that what Joe Biden has done to fight inflation may continue to work unless Donald Trump actually does what he says he's going to do. Okay, that's how that translates. Now, oops, let me continue. Yikes, that is the end of that. I'm sorry. So that is why Donald Trump owns this crash. Now, I do want to say one more thing for you because I want to share what happens when you Google the words Powell and inflation. So let me just share this with you before we leave this topic. And then I know you're going to ask for a little advice. So hold on. I don't give financial advice, but I can tell you what I've done and why I did it. Okay, so let's take a look at the sharing the screen. This is Powell inflation. And I just wrote, you can see on my Google at the top, this says Powell and inflation. And here are the headlines that come up. This is all, I didn't even do news. We've got Reuters, Fed lowers rates, but sees fewer cuts next year due to stubbornly high inflation. And more, why Powell says inflation is still on track. More, Dow in plunges by more than 1,100 points. Wall Street Journal opinion, always conservative. It says the Fed admits an inflation mistake. Powell sees a new Fed phase where focus returns to inflation. Now, here, Financial Times, I love it. Donald Trump's pledges seep into Federal Reserve's outlook. And if we open up the FT, which is what I want to do right now, and I can't subscribe for you, so I'm going to stop sharing. The FT, which we mentioned before, stands for the Financial Times. This is a prominent newspaper out of England. And the other day when I quoted it, because that was a newspaper who had the interview with Mitch McConnell, I just said FT and not Financial Times. Okay, so where does this leave us? The market's going to be opening shortly. The stock market's open shortly at 9:30. And I don't know. If it bounces back up, then we would be calling this dip a dead cat bounce. But if it doesn't, right? If this just continues to slide, or over time this continues to slide, then we really are in a serious decline. And that is why people are betting on volatility. Now, am I doing that? Hell no. I don't have that kind of money, and I don't take those kinds of risks. Basically, I have a 403B plan through my work. I have an IRA that rolled over from some other 401k. Basically, that's where, and then I have money in the bank. I literally don't have anything beyond that. I'm not, I made certain choices in my life and left corporate law, and I became an academic, and I've loved every day of it except the days I have to grade papers. Anyway, but the point of this is, and I'm not crying poor at all. I'm not just saying that. I'm just saying I'm kind of an average when it comes to saving for retirement, average person who doesn't have enough and will have to work forever, which is my plan, which is why tenure helps. They will have to drag me out of the classroom, and that's probably good. But still, when Michael and I were talking a few weeks ago about what we should do with some of that IRA that I rolled over from from a retirement plan, it's in mutual funds inside of a Fidelity account. So it's an IRA that has Fidelity mutual funds in it. And a lot of those funds that I had chosen are, funds that perform well. They're pretty, they're stock funds. I don't mean perform well. There's no guarantee of performance. I mean, I having worked at Fidelity, believe that those funds are well managed. And that's where I had a chunk of money. And a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, it's hard to remember anymore, I decided to convert that to, redeem those shares. And now they're in money market funds sitting there. Now, here's the problem. Money market funds, we used to think of that they'll never break the buck. That did happen during the financial crisis, but I'm willing to take my chance with Fidelity and with these money market funds. We shall see. I'm not someone who puts money under a mattress. I just think right now I'm watching this. Now, this is not advice for you because everyone in the world, and I'm terrible at investing, let me just say that, but everyone in the world, Michael's smarter than me, but everyone in the world will say average people like us should not try to time the market. They will say to us, if you sell while the market's going down, then you're going to miss the low point. That you should be buying, if you have every month in your 401k, or even if you have a chunk of savings in a mutual fund, like an index fund, it's a mistake. The experts will tell you to sell as it's going down or as it's down, because then you're going to miss the dip. And then you are going to have to buy in higher and you're just going to lose out. And I understand that's true. And so normally I wouldn't do this, but Michael's smarter than me. And let me just tell you, never follow my advice for one last reason. Whenever I teach securities regulation, I pick a company to follow and I invest maybe $100 and I can do it. I know that some stocks obviously trade higher than $100, but they're, if you invest online, it's some of these online apps, you could actually buy shares of stock funds, and almost 100% of the time, whatever I choose falls. Now, the reason why this is the case, in all fairness, is I always choose a company that just went public. And follow it from there, and buy these fractions of shares on Robinhood. So I am notoriously a bad investor, but there you have it. And I also invested stock money in General Motors, not a ton, maybe a couple $100 in General Motors while it was going through before its bankruptcy, because I just kept thinking, home team. My great grandfather worked for GM. So again, everything I tell you, you follow your own advice. I just want to be transparent with you. When I talk about things like the market is sliding, you need to know that at least I think I might have some money in my current retirement account that's in the market, but I deliberately sold shares a couple weeks ago and I'm sitting on the sidelines. So take that with a grain of salt, not grain of salt, take that in when I tell you things like the market is sliding, that where my positions are. Most people won't tell you that. They have a conflict of interest. Okay, so that's what's going on now. Donald Trump has bad policies and the effects are being felt already. And I want to bring up to you something else that he's doing related to what will hurt pricing. You know how much we all admire Lena Khan. I've talked about her before. She's head of the Federal Trade Commission, and she has been working both on her own and with the Department of Justice to bring major lawsuits against tech companies, as well as doing things like trying to stop mergers that would be anti-competitive and raise prices. And the deal is, though, that Donald Trump is planning to replace her with someone who's already on the FTC to make him chair so that he won't need any confirmation hearings. And this guy is a conservative, and he is, some people say that he is kind of a lapdog for industry. He will not pursue policies to lower prices. He also, let me just put this, he also has a lot of weird ideas that he wants to focus on. We can focus on this dude at some later point. But this guy is not going to be into stopping mergers or helping consumers with their high prices. Now, speaking of Donald Trump's bad policies, a lot of what is happening, I'm sorry, said differently. Speaking of where the market is, I'm sure I see that a lot of you also know that the government is going to, basically halt, other than essential employees, if they don't get a budget done. I think it's by this Friday. And as it often happens, sometimes when there are these disputes, they enter into what's called a continuing resolution to kind of kick the can down the road and fund the government for just another chunk of time. But we are now in the point where the government needs to be funded, and they're trying to finally do one of these omnibus budget bills. And so what's happening now, as you know, Democrats control the Senate, but not the House. And there is this plan underway that is being pushed by Donald Trump, but actually really on behalf of and under the apparent direction of our shadow president, Elon Musk. And what that plan is to shut down the government unless Elon Musk gets what he wants, right? That is what the plan is here. And so I want to share with you what Dan Goldman, congressman from New York, had to say about this, and a little bit of background. Of course, this is also going to be affecting the economy. What they want to do is, how I mentioned that Donald Trump wants to extend giant tax cuts and even expand them for billionaires and 100 millionaires and corporations at our expense. Well, he wants to do that, but in order to do so, he has to raise the debt ceiling has to be raised, right? And we can talk about how debt and stuff works like that and why raising the debt ceiling shouldn't worry you at the moment. But in order to be able to, to raise these taxes immediately, he's going to have to raise the debt ceiling because he's not going to be able to make the compromising cuts. I mean, the government still has to pay its bills when they become due. And in order to do this massive trillions of dollars worth of tax cuts, et cetera, I don't know the actual number, whether it's 1 trillion or more trillions, whatever that number is, they would need to essentially raise the budget ceiling. And so Donald Trump and Elon Musk want that done now. They can get it done on Donald's watch, but they want to be able to blame Joe Biden for doing it. And they want it all in place so he can work his magic and give his tax cuts. So let's talk about how Elon Musk is trying to hold this process hostage and how I hope in hell that the Democrats don't buckle. And I'll tell you why on the other side. Let's play this.
Donald Trump is asking you to do him a big favor. Would you please raise the debt ceiling for him right now so that he can give those tax cuts to Elon Musk and other billionaires next year?
Well, Lawrence, I think you have it just half a click off. It's not Donald Trump asking for this. It's very clearly President Elon Musk asking for this. The fact that Donald Trump has been completely AWOL during these negotiations to the point where only after Elon Musk publicly tweets about his displeasure and about this budget deal, all of a sudden, Donald Trump, chief of staff to Elon Musk, comes trotting in and blows up the deal. And let's be very clear. This means that what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing is likely at this point to shut the government down over Christmas.
So, again, speak accurately. If and when the government shuts down, it is Donald Trump and Elon Musk who are doing it. Those are the facts, right? This is a shadow presidency, and this is not Donald Trump. I'm sorry, this is not Joe Biden's fault. And even as much as I want the Democrats to resist and not cave, I can understand why they would want to capitulate because they care. about the federal workers who would be out of work. These millions of people, jobs in the post office. Well, I hope the post office runs over the holidays, but there are tons of federal workers who will not be paid as a result of a government shutdown. This includes everyone from, I don't know. So I guess the number is there's about, including postal workers, there's about over 2 million employees of the federal government. And I think that's maybe 2.8 million is a number I see. And I think that includes only civilian workers, not the military. But I cannot tell you for sure. Let me just check. There's close to 3 million civilians. So it's 2.8 million civilian workers. So that doesn't include our military. And so many of them would lose their jobs before the holidays. And, so many of us work paycheck to paycheck, even one paycheck. That could have been the paycheck that was going to pay for the Christmas gifts for their children. This is an unpleasant decision. And given the strength in messaging that Donald Trump has and the lies and the spin, no matter what happens, he will blame Joe Biden. And no matter what happens, everybody will believe it. We don't have to. In other words, if the Democrats don't give in and refuse to capitulate and say, no, we're not raising the budget ceiling so you can give billionaires tax cuts, then the government will shut down, maybe, and Biden will be blamed and Democrats will be blamed. And on the other hand, and not only that, forget the blame, people will actually suffer. And on the flip side, if they do give in to help people in the short run, then they'll be blamed and be handing this giant tax cut to the rich. I know where I would stand. I would not give in. That's just me. Now, speaking of Elon Musk and his boy toy, Vivek Ramaswamy, and I mean that not in a romantic sense, just, sidekick, Vivek Ramaswamy and their fake, because it isn't part of the government, Department of Government Efficiency. They are so embedded in our government. They are really running things to the point where Speaker Johnson meets with them. Donald Trump is, sitting around, enjoying his time on his golf course and whatever the hell he does, playing president. But the people calling the shots are these unelected people, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, two slimy billionaires. Let's listen.
And I was on a text chain last night with Elon and Vivek about Doge, because I'm super excited about that. And I said, guys, these are the necessary things. They don't like spending either. They said, we know this is not you personally, Mr. Speaker, and we got to get through this. So look, everybody understands the necessity. It is not palatable. This is the sausage making part of legislation that nobody likes, but we're governing, and we'll pick it up in January and start a brand new day for America.
All right, Speaker Mike Johnson.
Maybe it's Vivek, not Vivek. Oh, wow. He shouldn't even have the names of these people in his mouth. That is not who should be running our government. Now, you know how much it's important to say it like it is, and how we're looking for that kind of leadership in the government. And specifically, my focus, of course, is on law and corruption. And corruption, of course, intersects with follow the money. And there is obviously, the way Donald Trump has run things before, so much corruption throughout his being and how he runs the government. This, as you can see, handing the keys over to Elon Musk to make sure that Elon gets the return on his investment that he's looking for, is one piece of that corruption. As George Conway said, rather brilliantly on social media, on Blue Sky the other day, was that it's kind of amazing that Elon Musk is buying the United States government for less than he spent on Twitter. And let that sink in. It's not just sardonic. It actually is the reality. Because what is ownership under the law? Ownership of property under law is this idea of a bundle of rights. And the number one, or the top two aspects of what it means to be the owner is the right to control and the right to exclude others from your property, right? Among the bundle of rights. Who is controlling our government right now? Right? Who can exclude others from the decision making? That's a little bit better. He's not fully in control. We still have representatives who care about their constituents and the future of democracy. And that is why I want to introduce you to one of them right now. And that is happening to be our person of the day, right? This is Congressman Chris Murphy from Connecticut. I don't know if you saw this clip when he was on with Nicole Wallace. Thank you so much, Zoe and others. I'm really appreciating seeing these notes in the chat. Okay, let's play this. I think you're going to love him.
Remedy right now is for this not to be normalized. I read all the headlines about the Liz Cheney criminal referral yesterday.
Sorry, I didn't give you the full context. What he is doing is not obeying in advance, and he is speaking specifically in this instance about the vendetta against Liz Cheney and others who are on the January 6th committee. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start at the beginning. Here we go.
Remedy right now is for this not to be normalized. I read all the headlines about the Liz Cheney criminal referral yesterday, and almost every single one of them in mainstream media played this straight as if this was as if this was a normal, regular function of legislative power, instead of telling the truth, which is that this is made up out of thin air. There's not even a shred of a crime committed here. But if you read the headlines yesterday, you thought that Liz Cheney actually did something criminally wrong. And so as leaders, we can't accept that this is normal. As journalists, you can't accept that this is normal. The minute that we pretend that this is a normal exercise of executive power is the day that people give up fighting. So we've got these nomination fights coming up on Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. We should fight as Democrats like democracy is on the...
What he was going to say is like democracy is on the line. In the world of people who want to pretend that expressing bipartisanship in front of the camera, like Amy Klobuchar was doing the other day, in a world like that, don't be a Senator Klobuchar, be a Representative Murphy. That is the way to be. We love to see it. What I also want to say is that Murphy said something that I thought was also very apt, which is these guys, Donald Trump is stealing from us. He is absolutely a thief. And this is what they're doing. And I don't want to make you scared. I'm just telling you the way it is. He is a con artist. As we know, he has been found guilty on 34 felony counts and hopefully is awaiting sentencing. And right in front of us, he has handed the decision-making power to an unelected immigrant from South Africa who we think may have come here without the proper papers. I'm for immigrants. So that's not a problem. It's the hypocrisy here. And it's the fact that our Constitution, these guys who want to take away natural born citizenship are willing to have a shadow president as someone who doesn't even qualify to become president, right? Donald Trump, again, has Elon Musk running the presidency. And the only thing that repeating this over and over will help is it will piss off Donald Trump. The more people say Elon Musk made this decision, as opposed to just Elon Musk effed this up. Donald doesn't want people to say Elon Musk is running things and he's doing a better job than Donald could. And I can't even get those words out of my mouth. But if I could say it in a different way, and I'm seeing people say it, they're calling him President Musk. I call him the shadow president. I will not give him the dignity of the title of that office. Now, I got for you, in anticipation of tomorrow's whiteboard, where we're going to go through the top 10 things, the 5 positive promises Donald Trump made, and the 5 terrible things he promised to do. And we're going to track where those are. We're this Friday and every single Friday that I am on air here with you until this man is out of office. That's what we're going to do on Fridays. Okay? You know how they used to say on Twitter, FF, which is follow Friday? It was a hashtag. This is going to be fucked up Fridays. I won't say it like that every Friday, guys, because I think I've got to make this a little, I got to clean up my language for the, I don't know, to be a little classier. I'm going to be a little classier around this joint. Okay, so let me share for you my crazy town, because today's crazy town is part of that picture. It's a prelude. So okay, today's crazy town are all the people who, no matter when Donald Trump says, I'm a leopard and I'm going to eat your face, say, oh, he was just saying that to get elected. You're not going to, I mean, I'm smiling now, but I need you to see this, because this is what we're up against. And reality is going to bite so hard. And we still need to have empathy and do what we can to help people in our communities who are going to suffer from his policies. But never, I believe it's different to say this is happening and that Donald Trump is responsible. That's one thing. I am not going to stand in front of a clown car where they're shooting at people. I will sit here in my home and in, living my life, and I will do my job in my classroom, which is apolitical. We don't talk about politics. We do law. And I'm going to live my life and hope that when people see how shitty it is, how awful his policies are, they will throw him out of office. I'm not going to stick my neck out to help polish this man and keep him in office longer. This is a mistake. Okay, let's play the delusional Donald Trump supporters who think that his leopard face eating party will not eat their faces. Here we go.
We'll launch the largest deportation program in American history.
You better start packing now.
Voted for Trump?
Yes.
If in fact there are mass deportations, does that worry you?
Even though he made that particular political statement, it was
Trump.
just to corner those votes for him to get elected.
But you don't think that's what Trump's actually going to do?
It's not going to happen.
Local immigration attorneys say their phones are ringing off the hook.
A lot of people that are here undocumented support President Trump. And we have never seen that in that way. Individuals that are even in deportation proceedings say that they agree with him in certain ways, and it's pretty shocking. They believe that he is good for business. So to them, it seems easy that if they're removed somehow, that they simply come back in. But at the end of the day, what matters is that money's coming into the family and into their businesses.
I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
I mean, I see it as pretty clear, and that's where it is. That's what's happening. We will, I'm going to keep you updated on that, and I'm going to play us out with Crazy Town, and I'm going to see you on time tomorrow morning at 8:30. Sorry about the glitch this morning. Bye-bye.